Hello and welcome to the November vlog. That's what month this is. I have balanced my tripod in a very precarious position. It's currently standing on a cat scratching post, but it's fine as long as nobody touches anything. Spleen, that's mostly directed at you, for being honest. She's wandering around dangerously. But yes, it's fine. I am reading things. Too many things, to be perfectly honest. But that's fine. I am still working on the book I was reading last month, which is Let Us Water the Flowers by Jafar Yaghoobi. Nonfiction. Haven't really made much progress. I got to like the halfway point and then kind of didn't read anything else. I will. I'm just taking a break because it kind of is a lot and it's kind of not fantastically written, and it's still like I would like to keep reading it, you know. I don't want to DNF it. It's just like it's not the most enjoyable thing and it's not the most interesting, but there's enough in it that like I want to finish it. And the thing I'm reading to distract from that is Endymion Spring by Matthew Skelton. I want to say Michael. Every time I talk about this book, I want to say Michael Skelton, but it's Matthew Skelton. This is like a middle grade or young YA fantasy that's like half medieval, half present day, or medieval. 1400s, that's not medieval. 1400s? Or was it 400s? No, it's 1400s. I don't think that's medieval. But yeah, this is weird. Not bad weird, just like I'm not entirely certain what's going on yet. I feel like I need an explanation, or I'm just dumber than I thought I was, but I'm struggling a little bit, but not in like a bad way, and in like I'm curious way. So that. So those are the two things I'm reading. I'm listening to In the Heart of the Sea by Nathaniel Philbrick, which is interesting. There was a lot more cannibalism than I was expecting, and not like in terms of how much actually happened, but like how much time was spent on like how you actually cannibalize a person when you're on a boat with limited resources, and like the steps you go through. It was kind of a lot, especially because this morning was the morning I was like, let's take breakfast and eat it in the car as I go to work, and then it was just like 30 straight minutes on cannibalism. But it's fine. It's really interesting besides that. So it's fine. That was just a poor choice on my part because I don't usually eat breakfast. There was just something said today is the day to eat breakfast, and I was trying to choke down my little burrito while they're going on about cannibalism. It was unpleasant, but interesting. Just wish I hadn't been trying to eat at that moment. And so yeah, that's what I'm reading. Also, I need to read Magic Triumphs, which is the final book in the Kate Daniels series by Alana Andrews. I haven't started it. I need to finish that series. I'm a little bit burnt out on it, which is just why it's taking so long. So yeah, that is where I am so far this month. Like, it's not the very beginning of the month. Yeah. And I will check back in when I have updates, I suppose. Probably not from this position because I don't really like balancing my tripod up here, but it is nice to be able to have updates in my chair because my reading chair is comfy and I get to just sit here and like obsessively rock. It is Friday, November 3rd. I have not really read much of anything to update on. I've made a little bit more progress on Endymion Spring, but like not enough to talk about. So I would like to talk about other things because I finally did something that I meant to do for a minute, which was go to a book club. I have been meaning to at the library for like ages. Like, I decided to this spring, and it's just like I belong to 3 different library systems, like 2 counties and a city, and all of their book club times are terrible for me. So like 2 of them, like one of the counties in the city, I just like physically cannot make it to any of their book club meetings. They're just at like the worst times. But the other county, I technically can. It's just like kind of a hassle because it means their meetings are at 7, but they're in the county that I work in, not the county I live in. So like I get off work at 5 and can't go home, you know, because I don't have time because it's too far away. So then I would just wind up like hanging out with nothing to do for several hours and don't get home till almost 9, which is a very long, annoying day. But I did it because I was like, this is my only option. Like, this is it. So I went to one and it was fun. I was the youngest person there, which I hadn't expected that part. I hadn't quite expected the margin by which I was the youngest person there. Were either of my parents to have joined me, they would have been the second youngest people there by also like a decent chunk. Like, I'm pretty sure, I don't know, it's fine. I was kind of expecting more of a variety of ages, like definitely skewing older, but this was kind of like, I was definitely the odd man out, which is fine. We were discussing Killers of the Flower Moon, and like I do forget, like genuinely, how bad my social anxiety is, because so much of like my interaction with people is either at work, which is different because it's like a work setting, or it's on the internet. And like, this is fine for me. I can sit here and talk all day and this doesn't bother me. You put me in a room with 8 other people and I'm gonna be silent. Like, I said like 3 things, and of the 3 things I said, one was just my name. So that was not ideal, but I did go and I did say like 2 other things. But it was fine. I'm planning, we don't have a book. I'm gonna go back. I'm committed to this book club because it's the kind of thing where like, if I don't go back, they're gonna talk about me. They're gonna be like, that weird young girl who showed up and said nothing and then never came back. And like, my social anxiety can't handle that, so I have to commit to this like permanently. And I assume like the more I go, the more comfortable I will get with like interacting with people. So I'm committed. I also found another one that I'm gonna go to that's specifically nonfiction, and I'm just gonna go to 2 because they meet once a month. So like 2 book clubs a month, I can do that. We don't have a book for December because December is kind of like their wrap-up book club meeting where like everyone just talks about like what they've read and their favorite books and blah blah blah, and like it's chatty and they're gonna bring cookies, so I'm excited. For January, had not meant to commit to this, but we're apparently reading Anna Karenina by Tolstoy. So like, now I own Anna Karenina. I have a really gorgeous like edition. Like, this is not really what I had intended to commit to, you know. I was like, oh, I signed up for it because like, oh, we're doing Killers of the Flower Moon and that's an interesting nonfiction, and like they're reading some other things that seem fine, and like Anna Karenina has so now I have to read Anna Karenina by like January 4th or something, 7th. Interesting. So that will be a project for December. I'm not gonna stress about that this month. And then the other book club, the nonfiction one, I forget the book that they're reading for November because they have, the first one meets in the beginning of the month and the nonfiction one meets in like the 3rd week of the month, and like I put the book on hold at my library, so I should get it tomorrow. But it is very exciting. I'm excited. I know that like most people socialize and like branch out and go to book clubs and stuff, but like I don't. So this is me like doing something. And it was fun. Like, I didn't say anything and I sat there filled with anxiety the entire time, but it was very enjoyable to sit there and listen to people discuss this book in person. And I assume I will read Anna Karenina and I will discuss that with them and maybe have more things to say. Maybe. But while I was at the library, because I got there early on account of the whole, you know, had 2 hours to kill after work thing. So I got there like half hour early just to like, I ran out of things to do. And I was looking through their books. Guess what I found? They just had 3 copies sitting on their shelf. And I'm like, I have been waiting months. And I was like 7th on the holds list at my library. But yes, they have Karin Slaughter. So this is due in 2 weeks at that library. So I will have to go there within the next 2 weeks. But I can go there on the way home. But I assume I will read this in like 2 days. I'm very excited. I know I have like 2 other physical books that I'm in the middle of, but I'm very, very excited. So I shall be reading this, and then I suppose I will be getting the nonfiction book from the library tomorrow for the next book club meeting, and I will read that and discuss that and give you my thoughts, and then hopefully I can start like saying things at book club meetings and being like a normal adult, because they asked me if I was a student, and I was like, I'm 30, so no. But yes, I will be reading this. I'm very, very excited, especially considering I literally just finished her Grant County series like last week, like less than a week ago I finished that, so like perfect timing. I'm so excited. I'm like, I hope this is amazing. This better be amazing. Some of her books have been less brutal recently, but I really hope this is just like absolute brutality 24/7. Like, I could just sit down and read this tonight. I might do that, actually. I'm gonna go do that. So I started after that night. I don't want to be negative on this immediately, because it's not bad. It's not what I thought it was going to be, and like, that's my fault. I read the description and it says that this case ties into something personal and traumatic from the main character's past 15 years ago. And I got very excited because I thought 15 years ago, I don't know how to explain this to people who haven't read the book while being vague. Basically, the main character of this book was the main character of a different series that Karin wrote, like, in the mid-2000s. So, I was thinking, the last book of that series came out in, what, like 2008? Something like that. And I was like, 15 years ago? That's 15 years ago. If we're, like, doing the time like that, then the bad things that happened at the end of that book, that, like, ended that series, is gonna be what this book's about. And I got very, very excited. And that is not what this is about. The traumatic event they're referring to is something traumatic that happened to her before that series that we already knew about. And she's doing the thing where she turns that traumatic event into a conspiracy after the fact. Because, like, this has been discussed, this has been dealt with. I don't love that. But, like, this book is not bad. And also my other issue is that Sarah Lynn, who's the doctor, who's the main character of the Grant series and was, like, introduced as a character in this, she's very much the main character of this book, which is fine. I like her as a character, but it's the Will Trent series, and I love Will Trent. He is my favorite. He's so just problematic. Let's say it like that. I love him. And I was really looking forward to seeing more of him, and I'm like 50 pages in, and there's been, like, none of him yet. And this isn't bad. I'm enjoying it a lot. I need to readjust my mindset to what this book is. I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. I just need to commit. I'm committing to enjoying it, and it'll be fine. It is Saturday, November 4th. I finished this. Didn't read it all last night, but probably would have if I didn't get tired at like 10:30 now. I stayed up till midnight, and that's really, like, pushing the limits for me. If I was capable of staying up later than that, I would have finished this last night, but finished this morning. It's really good. Like, it is interesting to read her most recent book after I was reading most of her oldest books, because the Grant County series was the first thing she ever wrote. So it is interesting to see the change in her writing, because she writes a lot better now. And, like, not that her early writing wasn't good, because I enjoyed that as well, but it's like you could tell it was a little rougher around the edges, and it was a little just like not as smooth. It didn't flow all as well, and like, I don't know, like you could tell. And then you read this and it was like so easy for me to just read literally the entire thing, like not wanting to stop. Like it just goes, and it's like her writing has gotten so much harsher, like in a way that like suits her like really brutal stories, and like the writing itself has become so harsh, and like it's fantastic. So I thoroughly enjoyed this. Once I got over it, like thinking it was about something different, it was really, really fantastic. So I highly recommend if you like the Will Trent series. It was a good addition. My only complaint was that there was very little of Will Trent in this. It was very much a Sarah Linton book within the context of the Will Trent series, and I love him as a character, so I wish there'd been more of him, and I really hope in like the next book she writes in the series that like it centers more on him, because I like him as a character so much. He's fantastic. His whole thing is that he's illiterate, basically functionally illiterate. He can read a little, but like he has very severe dyslexia that was never like caught as a child, so like he never really got any help with it, and like he basically can't read much at all, and he spends a lot of his life trying to hide that. It's very interesting and like, in my opinion, pretty well done. So I do love him. So that was like the only drawback of this book, but it's fantastic. It was, you know, as good as it possibly could have been. And I did just get back from the library to get my nonfiction book club pick for later this month. I think they're meeting in like 2.5 weeks, but we are reading Hidden Valley Road, Inside the Mind of an American Family by Robert Kolker, which I had not heard about, but actually, I think I've heard the title because that sounds familiar. Like Hidden Valley Road sounds like I've heard it, but I don't think I've like heard anything about this book. But apparently it's about a family who had 12 children, and 6 of their children had schizophrenia, which apparently was important for science. I've only read like the first sentence on the cover. Like I've read, you know, the large print of that. So I don't really know, but I gotta read this in like the next 2 weeks. So I will probably be starting this shortly. Hopefully it's good. It sounds very, very interesting, so we shall see, but I'm looking forward to it. I started reading Hidden Valley Road. I'm like a little more than a third of the way through. It is fascinating. It's all just about this family, and like there's 6 kids who have schizophrenia in the 70s, so like they have no like resources, like even fewer than today, and they don't understand mental illness, and like they don't know what to do, and like the family is also like low-key abusive, and like there's all this wild stuff going on, both like the schizophrenia and unrelated to it, and it's just so interesting. It's definitely like slow going, like I'm, you know, a chunk through, but it's like a lengthy process. Like I'm spending a lot more time reading this, but it is just like absolutely interesting. I'm enjoying it so much. So yeah, making progress on that. It's, I was gonna say the date, I don't know the date, the 11th of November, I think. I read more of The Devil's Advocates finally, because I figured it's on my DVR. I should really be reading this book. So I did. I read another chapter last night, so now I'm at 3 out of, I said 10. I think it might be 8 actually. So I was gonna say if I've read 3 and there's 7 left, that doesn't make sense. I think there are 8. So I'm almost halfway through. This chapter, this case was about Randy Weaver. Randy Weaver was basically pre-Waco. Like, he was the precursor to Waco, like a year earlier or something. And it was just about his case and like what it meant in the context of the law, and it included the full text of his lawyer's closing argument, which was fascinating. It was like 25 pages, and it was so interesting to read and so enjoyable. The only thing that I had an issue with in this one was that they spent a decent portion of time at the beginning discussing the difference between white supremacy and white separatists, and very much putting Randy Weaver in the latter, and like he's been wrongfully affiliated with the neo-Nazis and like whatever. And I was like, okay, like white separatists versus white supremacists seems kind of like a distinction without a difference, to be honest. And as I went along reading, they were like, yeah, like the government pigeonholed him with the neo-Nazis. Like, this dude went to neo-Nazi campouts. He went to Aryan Nation meetings. Like, I don't think he was unfairly pigeonholed into anything. I think he was just a racist who liked those things and just never officially joined. Because he went to, like, multiple events for multiple groups. Like, and it was super gross, and I think they were trying to humanize him, because like this whole chapter was like about government overreach, because the government killed his wife and his son, and like there was like a standoff for like 11 days, and it was very, very interesting, and like clear government overreach, like regardless of his Nazi affiliation. I think they were like maybe trying to humanize him. It was super gross and weird, and I kept like going back to reread. I was like, you really said that? Like, I'm not misreading this, because like I kept thinking I was like misreading it, because it was so odd. And it's like I've never gotten that vibe from their books before, so I think maybe they were just trying to do something and failed. But I also think maybe it was just like they're old white men. So yeah, it was gross and made me very uncomfortable. But like once they got to the actual legal stuff, it was very, very interesting, because it was a very interesting case. I don't really know what they were trying to do with that. It is November 12th, Sunday. I finished Hidden Valley Road. Did I talk about finishing that? I don't remember. That was very, very interesting. I highly recommend. It wasn't really about schizophrenia as much as I kind of thought it was going to be. It was more like around schizophrenia, but it was a very, very interesting read. Like I really enjoyed that. And currently, I move on quickly. I am currently reading The Necessary Hunger by Nina Revoyr, since this was on my end of the year TBR, and I was like, you know what? I made that TBR, so I really need to read these books. So I'm reading this, and I'm like halfway through, well, a little more than halfway. Because I live streamed today for like the first time, or technically the second time I've ever live streamed, but the first time alone and on my channel. And that was fun. I hosted reading sprints for a couple hours, which I will probably do again in the future. It was fun. It was a little bit like nerve-wracking, and I definitely have to get used to it, but like it was fun and it was productive, and I read half this book. So I'm going to continue reading this tonight. It's about these two teenage girls who are basketball players, high school basketball players in Los Angeles in the 80s. They're also gay, and they're forming kind of a romantic relationship in sort of like a quiet, long form way. And their parents get together and move in with each other, and one is African American, one is Asian American, and they're in the inner city. It's very interesting and well done. This is her debut novel, so it's definitely a little bit like rough around the edges in some ways. Like, it's not bad. There's like no way in which this is bad, but there are some aspects that are like a little bit rough, a little bit like could have been done better, but it makes me very interested to see where she goes, because this book is very, very good. It's just some things aren't written as well, some things aren't developed as well, some things don't flow as well, but it's like everything is there. So I'm really, really excited to keep reading her. Like, if her debut is this good, I can only imagine that like her books get better. But I am really, really enjoying this. It's like a very down to earth story, and it's just a lot about basketball and a lot about, like, these girls' lives and, like, who they are as people. It's very interesting. But I enjoy this so much. Guess what arrived today? I ordered the Waypoint book box subscription. Or I guess not box. It's not really a box. It's just books. Essentially, it's this online indie bookstore that has a book subscription. I was gonna film a whole video for this, and then I was like, but then I'd feel like I need to explain what it is and, like, do a good job. And you know what? Maybe another month. I will link the information down below in case you're interested. But essentially, she has 2 variants. One where she recommends you books and then you pick one of the recommendations, and one where she recommends you books and you pick one of the recommendations and then she sends you that and something random based off of your interests. So I ordered that. I mean, like, a month ago now, but it's based in the UK and I live in the US, and because I have more patience than money, I picked the cheap shipping option. But it's finally here and I'm very excited, so I'm gonna open it on camera. I have no idea what she picked, like, genre or anything, because I kind of just listed my interests as almost anything. I like most things. Well, I like very little. I'm very critical. But in terms of genre and such, I like most things. So I know the one thing that I picked. And in case you're wondering why there's just, like, a giant hole in it, it's because my mailman sucks. And he really just put it in a way where I literally had to cut it out of the mailbox because he squeezed it into my tiny little box. And I was like, I mean, I was literally down there in the dark with a box cutter, like, hacking at it. It was unpleasant. I have 2 books. So, I know what one of them is because I picked it, and the other one is wrapped. I like that. That's a fun element. The other one is wrapped, so I have no idea what this is. Okay, I'm intrigued. I like unwrapping things. Unwrapping things is fun. So the first book that I got is Spirits Abroad, which is by Zen Cho. It's a short fiction collection. Enter the lands of the living and the dead. It's super pretty. This is magical realism short stories. Let me open it. I should also add, I plan on starting, excuse you, that is not yours. I plan on starting one of these, like, tonight because, well, probably not this one. I'm reading a short fiction collection right now. So I plan on probably starting this tonight because I just finished my book. Drawing inspiration from Asian myth and folklore, Zen Cho guides the reader through enchanted realms inhabited by dragons, vampires, and incorrigible grandmothers. These 19 sparkling stories are full of joy, humor, and tenderness. So, Malaysian. They are largely Malaysian based because she was born and raised in Malaysia and then moved to the UK. But this is so gorgeous. Like, I know it's like a shallow thing to say, and the book also sounds like it's gonna be really good, but this is so pretty. And it's supposed to be, like, kind of magical realism-esque, which is not usually my thing, but I would like to try to make it my thing. Or at least, like, read some more. I haven't read magical realism in years, because usually it's, like, a big turnoff, but this sounded good. So, I have that. I apologize, but Spleen has found one of her favorite sticks, so she is having a grand time. And that's my box cutter. You don't need box cutters, babe. You're already a criminal. Okay, so the wrap thing, which I'm very excited for. In the Ravenous Dark by A.M. Strickland. So this looks like YA fantasy, I think. It looks interesting. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I say I don't know, but it does sound very interesting. Splurred. I don't know how to describe this. Because it's like, just based off the back, like, I don't really understand what it's about. But not, like, in a bad way. Just in a way where I'm like, I don't know, apparently people with magic are like very controlled in this society, and this girl has magic, but like her father died to like keep the government from knowing that she has magic. So it looks interesting. So I will probably start reading this. I don't know. Am I gonna read this tonight? Probably. I will probably start this tonight. I'm curious. I haven't read much YA fantasy. Kind of in general. Like, I read Tamora Pierce a lot when I was younger, and I read the books of Palinor. But like, YA fantasy was never really like my thing. So I'm very curious. I'm very interested. This looks good. I'm trying to decide what this is, and I'm not really sure. But it looks like it's doing a lot, and it looks like it's all interesting, and I don't know. It looks like it's either I can't tell if it's gonna be a love triangle or if it's gonna be a poly thing, and I'm hoping for the latter because that would be a lot more interesting. But I don't know. I'm intrigued. So, yay. I'm very excited for this. I'm very excited for both of these, actually. This one's probably just gonna wait just because I am reading a short fiction collection and probably will be for a minute because it's kind of long. But I will start this tonight, and I suppose you will get my reactions within the next few days because it's pretty short. It's like less than 400 pages. But yeah, we shall see about this. It is December 1st, so whoops. It is possible that I forgot I was filming this vlog. I apologize. I believe the last clip I filmed was unboxing my Waypoint subscription, I think, which was like a week and a half ago. Yeah, I don't know. I read a bunch of books in that time. I did read Into the Ravenous Dark. I don't even remember what that was called anymore. It was disappointing. Would not recommend. I read some better things. I read some Isabel Allende. What did I read? Oh, that law book that I was reading for the longest time. The Bridge by Ian Banks, which I DNF'd. Yeah, I read a lot this month. I read a lot of physical books this month. Because last month I read more, technically. Because I read 19 books last month. And I read 16 books in November. But I read a bunch of books in the same series. I read like 8 books in one series. So it felt like less. Whereas now I'm reading all these books. And it's like, because they're all physical books and they're all like different series, it feels like a lot more. But it was a good month for reading. I had 2 5-stars, I think. That's pretty good. Nina Revoyr still has top tier. I love that. That book broke my heart. I really want to read Southland, which is her next, I think her second novel. I have it on my shelf because I got 2 of her books and I'm just fully committed to her now. Like, you read one thing by a person and it's just like fully committed. I gotta read everything she's written. I don't care. Like, even if I hate Southland, I'm still gonna read everything she's written. Like, I don't care. She's great. So this has been my November. Sorry that this vlog just kind of like dropped out for the last 10 days of the month, but that's just how it goes sometimes. I just got too distracted by reading. So a lot of reading happening, and hopefully a lot of reading will continue happening for the rest of December too. Thank you so much for watching. Here's the Mimi. Say hi, Mimi. Mimi, don't give me that face. Mimi, give me a happy face. Okay, well, thank you for watching, and I will see y'all again soon.